Banky special.
Yeah.
Pure deliciousness.
Pure deliciousness, man. My name is Banky, man. Everybody calls me Banky. That's the name that I got from my grandmother when I was young. I'm coming out here after 30 years. Yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, you know, and I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts. Shout out to everybody out there on Team Banky Pound, man. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. We on the road to 100K, man, but we got to get to 60K first. We stagnated. I told y'all, tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend something about this movement we got going on over here. We trying to get this positive energy out here. We trying to keep these young brothers from throwing their life away, going up in that system, that vicious system that we all trying to duck. You know, life is too good out here. Freedom is where it's at. You know, we don't want to be incarcerated. We don't want to see our young fellas incarcerated. So we got to do our part, man, to try to keep them out of there. That's what I hope some of these videos is doing. I hope they're reaching people. And I hope y'all spreading this message, sharing this message, so these young fellas can get a dose of reality of what awaits them when they go behind that wall, man. So everybody who support me, everybody who watch these videos, everybody who share these videos, everybody who leave a comment, everybody who leave a like, much love. I appreciate you. I really do. I definitely do. So shout out to TBP out there. Shout out to all my members out there. Shout out to everybody who ever left a comment, man, or ever left a like, or ever watched my videos, man. I appreciate the love for sure. This video right here, I wanted to do this video because of a lot of reasons. I wanted to get the message out there to these young dudes to give them a dose of reality about, you know, what awaits you in prison, what you could encounter in prison, things you can go through in prison that you may not never, ever have to encounter or go through out here in the free world. So it's a learning video for real, because the things that I'm going to speak on, which I ain't even sure everything I'm going to speak on because it's just going to come to my mind as I'm talking. But I want to just point out some of these incidents and some of these things that occurred while I was locked up that I witnessed and I seen firsthand. So to give you an idea of what you might have to go through in prison, man, the life you might have to live, the things you might have to navigate, the things you may have to make choices about while you locked up, you know, because, you know, all of the things that you love out here is gone when you in there. You ain't got no more of all of the things that makes you happy, the things that gives you smiles, the things that give you fun, the things that you enjoy. That is gone in prison. You ain't gonna be dealing with none of that in there. You're gonna be dealing with misery, confusion, viciousness, larceny, con, depression, suppression, everything. All of that is going to be a daily part of your lifestyle when you're in prison. So you need to keep that in mind while you're out here moving and grooving and doing whatever you think you're doing that's going to make you get where you want to get. Just make sure it's legitimate. Just make sure it can't end you up in prison. Just make sure it's something that has a ends to a means, you know. So with that being said, man, this video right here, I'm just talking about incidents that I witnessed when you come to prison, and, you know, your manhood may be challenged. Your manhood just may be challenged when you up in prison. That's just a fact. That's, you know, we have heard that over and over again, you know, out here on the streets. When you're young, you go, don't go to prison, this can happen, that can happen. Yeah, well, it's real. It's really real, you know. And as I told y'all before in previous stories, I can remember when I left receiving. And although I seen some things in receiving, but when I left receiving and I first went to the war, I told you I can't remember exactly how many of us it was. It was anywhere between 8 to 12. And we all walking in there, and, you know, just walking in that dreary building, man, that dungeon, that, that big castle looking dungeon. And the smell, the stench, the look is just, reeked of danger, reeked of havoc, just walking in there. And I can remember that as if it was yesterday. But when we came in and we was walking across the bottom floor and we faced with all these cells and all of these convicts and inmates that's looking out of their window and looking out of their door, and they can see us walking in, and they know we new, they know we young, they know we coming in the system. And man, they just started catcalling and whistling as if, some women were walking by or something. And I can remember getting the chill bumps all over me, like, man, like, shh. And putting that look on my face like you better not be talking about me. You better, and you can feel that, that adrenaline started pumping in your heart, because now this is real. This is reality. This is your reality. This is where you at. And this is what you're going to be dealing with. So, in my mind, I had already, when I was even in the jail, I had already locked in my mind, as I've told y'all, things I was going to, live by, things I was willing to die by, and I meant that. I locked that in my heart. It's certain things I'm not going for, certain things I'm not going to accept. And whatever comes with that, whatever consequences, then that's what it is. Even if it costs me my life to protect what I believe in or to protect me, then that's just what it was going to be. So be it. And these are decisions that you're going to have to make when you're in prison, whether you want to or not, because that's just your reality. With certain things you say, well, what would you do if you was in this situation? What would you do if you was in that situation? And you don't know. You can always say, well, I do this, or I ain't going. Yeah, well, when you in it, yeah, it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. It's just like watching a football game and you say, oh man, he should have did this, he should have did that, I would have did this, I would have did that. But if you was actually in the game, what would you have done? Do you know what you would have done, or you just saying that, or you just thinking that? It's a difference when that is reality. And when you in prison, that's reality. It ain't no what you would do, is what you may have to do, period. It ain't no what ifs. Yeah, you may have to do this. So, like I say, I can remember getting in there, man, and it was just, like I said, I had my mind locked in on me, but I could see, that this was going to be a dangerous place. It was going to be crazy, just the environment alone, and, the people that's in there. People that's been in there for decades, people that's been in there for, God knows how long, and ain't never getting out and don't even have hope of getting out. So you got to deal with all of those different type of personalities. You got to deal with all those different type of attitudes, and you got to deal with all those different type of philosophies that those dudes have about how they going to do their time. Because the way they going to do their time might impose on the way that you going to do your time. You see what I'm saying? So those are realities, man, when you locked up, man, and you done put yourself in that position, then you're going to have to deal with these things. And the wall was crazy, man. I can remember when I first encountered dudes that was in there that was what you might say is predatory. They in there, they looking for weak dudes. They looking for dudes that's scared. They looking for dudes that's, ain't sure about who they are or what they are, or what they will do and what they won't do. And that don't necessarily mean that they trying to, turn you out or make you into, a boy or something like that. They may be even just looking to extort you, looking to, lean on you to get money from you, because they know that you scared, because they can sense it, they can see it, they can feel it. You see what I'm saying? So you gonna have to project the image and let somebody know at the same time, look, this ain't what you want. This ain't what you want, And a lot of times that's gonna work, and a lot of times it's not. A lot of times you're gonna have to produce. You're gonna have to show that you real. You're gonna have to show that you will do what you saying you're gonna do. A lot of times talk is not gonna get it. And it may get you by for a minute, but it ain't gonna get it in the long run. Before it's over with, if you do enough time in prison, I don't care how tough you talk, I don't care how tough you look, it makes no difference. You're gonna have to show and prove. You're gonna have to put that work in to get respect. And there's a lot that comes behind that as well. Because now you've done something, or you have created some type of violence, or you have shown that this is where I stand. you're going to have to stand in that. And you're going to have to stand on that all the time, period. Because when you show any chink in your armor, then the wolves is coming. You know, the wolves is coming. It ain't like you could just do one thing and that's it. No, you may have to produce that again. They have to know that this is where you stand and this is what you believe in, and you ain't going to compromise for nothing, period. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, it's a lot to come with that, because even when you do that, you're going to suffer consequences. It's consequences that goes with everything you do in life, and there's even more so consequences in prison. You know, you may have to do something where you may have to hurt somebody in prison just to make a point, just to show that you're not going to be played with, that you're not going to be taken advantage of. But at the same time, you doing all of this to make your point in prison, to make sure that you okay in prison, and you trying to do this to make sure that you get out of prison the same way that you came in prison, intact. Your manhood intact, your pride intact, your principles intact. But at the same time, you got to realize the same thing you're doing to get those points across can be the same thing that make you have to stay in prison even longer, to deal with this situation even longer. So it's a double-edged sword. So it's all depending on what you're willing to do and what you ain't willing to do, where you stand and what your principles stand for. You see what I'm saying? So it's tricky, man. It's tricky. It's tricky. And like I tell you, the best way to not deal with none of this at all, don't put yourself in prison. Don't put yourself in a position to go to prison. And if you're out here doing something right now that may put you at risk of going to prison, this is some things you need to consider, because I'm going to tell you right now, ain't nobody going to get away forever. Whatever you're doing going to catch up with you, so you need to keep that in mind, and you need to ask yourself, is you willing to take these type of risks where this is where you might end up at? And you can ask me that a million times over, and if I could go back in life, no sir. No sir. It's nothing that I can consider that I would feel like that, well, I'm going to do this either way, because I know that it may bring me this, it may do this for me, but I may end up back in prison. If back in prison has anything to do with it, I don't want nothing to do with it. Period. I don't want anything to do with it. That's just a fact, because I've been through it, and I'm glad that I made it through it. God got me through it, but I didn't have to make it through it. That's a given to me. But anyway, I can remember, like I say, seeing dudes, man, being pressed. Being pressed for their manhood, being pressed for their money, just being pressed, period. Because dudes sense weakness in them. And little incidents and things that I remember. I can remember when I was in the wall, it was another dude in there, man, and I had heard he was being pressed. Dude had pressure on him, trying to, turn him out, trying to make him into a boy. He was putting up an argument as if that ain't what he about, and that ain't what he going for, that ain't what he want to do. But his argument wasn't strong enough where dudes sense weakness in him, and probably within a month, I heard they ran down on him. Two dudes ran down on him, went up in his cell. One dude holding the outside of the cell, the other dude holding the inside of the cell, and they went up in there with that Bethlehem with him. Now, he had a choice, either to fight, knowing that you may, get hurt, you may even lose your life, you may even, get, stabbed or injured where it's beyond repair, but it's either that or your manhood. You see what I'm saying? You faced with that. He chose the latter. He chose not to get hurt, so he went ahead and submitted to that. He submitted to that, and then for the rest of his bit, I ran into him years and years and years later. That's what he was. He was a boy, because he couldn't stand up for himself, or he didn't want to stand up for himself to the point where he felt like he may be harmed or injured, so he chose that route. And some dudes choose that route. Some dudes, they gonna take whatever you bring to them. You're gonna have to kill him. You're gonna have to hurt him. And then you got to ask yourself, if that dude willing to do all of that for, to get what he want from me. But at the same time, you got to ask yourself, is you willing to do what you got to do to make sure he don't take that from you? Because once that's taken, you can never get that back. Once your manhood is gone, it's gone. You see what I'm saying? So that's the route that he chose because I guess whatever he had in his heart or the fear that he had of getting hurt, he went with that route. And for the rest of the time I ever saw him on other institutions, that's what he always was. Now, I don't think that that's what he was when he came in, but I think he was a young dude that made some mistakes on the street. He was scared. He won't about that life, that drama, that rumbling and all of that. So he chose that, you know. And you have a lot of dudes that come in there. They go different routes. You know, dudes choose to join a gang because they feel that may keep them protected because they got numbers. Dudes choose to join religious groups, you know, because they know that the religious groups is going to protect them as well. You know what I'm saying? But in my opinion, the way I lived and did my bit was I choose to stand alone. I came in alone. I choose to stand alone. I didn't want to align myself with these people. I didn't want to align myself with these people because when you align yourself with some other group or some other people, you also got to realize you got to follow their rules and regulations as well. I won't gonna follow nobody's rules and regulations, but the administration, everything else that I was gonna do was gonna be, you know, by my own, you know, determination, by my own thought process. I didn't want to be in line with no group, and I don't knock nobody who do whatever they feel that they have to do. That's them. Me, I just ain't want to align myself with something. Then, first and foremost, I got to believe in what you're doing. If I don't believe in what you're doing and I'm just aligning myself with you just for to be protected, then I've already compromised my manhood. I've already compromised my principles. So I didn't want to compromise my principles. I was willing to stand on my own and die on my own for what I believed in, you know, no matter how it came or no matter where it came from. And I stood on that for 33 years and I stand on that to this day. But you got to ask yourself, is that what you're willing to do? Is that what you're willing to go through? And I'm telling you right now, it ain't no easy road, brother. I can promise you that. You know, I can promise you that. And see, like I said, a lot of dudes in line themselves with the Muslims because the Muslims, as long as I know, when I was in prison, they're going to accept you if you know, choose to follow their religion. No matter what you've done in your past, no matter what has happened to you. I've known dudes who have been, you know, dudes have taken their manhood by force. And you know, they didn't want to continue to do that. They did that because they were scared and they couldn't protect themselves. And then they ended up aligning themselves with, you know, the Muslims. And now once they become up under the Muslims, then the Muslims is gonna rock for you. They gonna ride for you. You ain't gonna come at them with that type of stuff because if you do, they coming at you and they ain't coming and they ain't playing. You know, when they come, they not playing. You know, period. You know, and they're gonna forgive you for whatever you did, for whatever reasons you did it. Once you align yourself with them, and then you're going to be up under their protection. But on the other hand, you also going to have to follow all of their rules and regulations. You're going to have to live like a real Muslim. You're going to have to do what they do. You're going to have to align yourself with all of their philosophies and all of their beliefs because they will put hands on you as well. You understand me? That's a part of it, what they do. If they find out that you're not adhering to their rules and their regulations, no matter where you are on that compound, then you're going to be disciplined and you're going to be dealt with. And if you continue to do what they tell you is not allowed, then you're going to be kicked out and you're going to be cast to the wolves. You see what I'm saying? So, double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, man. It's real in the field out there. It's very real in the field out there. You're going to have to be dealing with a whole lot of situations when you're in prison, man. But the number one situation you're going to have to deal with is how you going to protect yourself and what are you willing to do and what you ain't willing to do. And that question is going to come up and you're going to have to answer it sooner or later in prison, period. You know, and over the years, man, I've seen dudes that go both ways. I've seen dudes that submit to the pressure. I've seen dudes who bucked on the pressure. You know, I can remember when I left the war and I was on Augusta. You know, one of the first incidents that I seen, it was a little young dude on there, and he was Asian. He was an Asian dude, but he was real small, man. I'm talking about like 5'5", maybe 130 pounds. Real little dude, you know. And in prison, like I say, physicality plays a part because a dude will try to intimidate you with his size. You got dudes in there as big as Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know. So if they trying to intimidate you with your size, if you're scared of that, then you gonna be scared. Administration be scared of big dudes. They be scared of big dudes. Dudes impose their will on them by barking and you know, and they scared of them because they know when they do have to deal with them, they're gonna have to tussle with them. So they looking at the size, they're intimidated by the size. It's all, you know, it's all optimal. You know what I'm saying? It's vision. They looking at it and they, oh yeah, what we gonna do? You know, so they'll plea bargain with them. They'll talk to them a little bit more kinder than they would you. They'll listen a little bit more than they would you. So they be a little nervous. So dudes is intimidated by that. That's why a lot of dudes in prison lift weights. A lot of dudes lift weights just to intimidate, just to keep weight off of them, just to keep pressure off of them. And you be surprised, you know what I'm saying? Because some of them is just as coward as the most as anybody else. You know what I'm saying? They just as coward as anybody else, and all that big size they done put on to keep that away from them. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, but more often than not, it do work. You know what I'm saying? Because I done seen some huge cowards, you know, where it came down to fight or flight, they ran. You see what I'm saying? So, or they folded up under that pressure, you know, but they ain't nobody gonna know until you apply the pressure back to them, you know. But anyway, this little Asian dude, man, had a dude in there, man. He was down on the little Asian dude, man. He was, you know, making little comments to him, making little sly remarks to him. And the Asian dude barely spoke English. He barely spoke it. And there was a couple of more Asian dudes on there as well. You see what I'm saying? So he was in line with a little group, but it was few, very few. But he kept pressuring the dude, man. And he had even went so far as to, you know, touch the dude on his behind a couple of times, you know. And the dude turned around and screamed on him like, no, man, why you crazy? You know, what's wrong with you? You know, talk to him like, you crazy, don't do that. No. And he like, man, shut up, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead on, but yeah, go ahead, man, you know, and make little remarks to him. So the dude kept telling them, you know, leave him alone. He ain't going for it. He don't play that. You see what I'm saying? He was persistent. He kept bothering the dude. And man, I don't know if it was the Asian dudes that got in his ear and told him he gonna have to make a stand, or this dude was gonna keep pressing him or whatever. But man, he was out there on that yard one day, and he was playing softball, and they out there throwing the ball around and catching the ball or whatever. They was getting ready to, you know, get up a game to play some softball or whatever. And that Asian little dude came out there, and he went over there, and he snuck right over there behind the dugout and picked up one of them aluminum bats and walked right up behind him and hit him in his head. I mean, what you call it? I don't really know too much about baseball. I just know a couple of names, but I would just say like, what his name, Reggie Jackson. Man, like he was Reggie Jackson or Bird Bonds or something trying to hit a home run. I mean, he almost took the dude's whole head off. I mean, it just sounded off like, boop. And man, the dude just dropped, man. His body was just limp. Just fell down there and just laid. And man, he just started bleeding out the back of his head. His head started swelling up. And the Asian dude just dropped the bat, right? And just was walking away. And he was saying, the actual word, and y'all know what I mean. When he was saying, you know F of me? You know F of me? No, you know F of me? You know? And he was saying, you know F me. And he just walked away. You know what I'm saying? By the time the people found out what happened, you know, they set off the alarm and everything, started clearing the yard. You know, they get the little Asian boy, they lock him up. They get the dude out there, man. They take him out there on the stretcher, man. He almost killed the dude. If I ain't mistaken, he fractured his skull. You know, he had brain bleeding and everything. All because he underestimated the dude. He felt like what he was getting away with thus far, he could take it a step further, and he underestimated the dude, and that's what happened to him. That was his consequences. You see what I'm saying? Now, the little Asian dude, now he got a reputation. Now he got a reputation that's not what he gonna stand for. But at the same time, that's what I'm telling you. But he gonna have to stand on that for however long his bid is. however much time he got to do, because he may go to another institution and they may look at him and look at him and think he's feminine, or he could be broken, or they could do this and that to him, and then they may hear about what he did, but you may still have another dude say, yeah, well, he did that to him, he ain't gonna do it to me. So he may have to do it again. But at the same time, like I say, you're gonna have to pay for that as well. He probably stayed in the hole for God knows how long, and that's a whole different animal within itself. Especially from people that's used to being in the free world, you already got to adapt to being locked up and you don't have your freedom, and you are around people that you don't want to be around necessarily. You're around situations that you don't want to be in necessarily, and you forced to deal with that because you have no other choice. It's a different animal when they even take you out of that environment and then put you in segregation, when you ain't got number 4 walls, a bed with a mattress this thin and a commode. And that's it. That's it. You don't have anything else. And you can be back there from anywhere from days to weeks to months to years to decades. You understand me? So that alone would challenge your mental, where you got to, be mentally strong as well as physically strong to deal with that without breaking down and without losing your mind, without losing focus on, what your task is, and that is to get out of prison. That is to survive in prison and then get out of prison. So it ain't like nothing in there is free. You ain't going to do nothing without consequences. You ain't going to go through nothing without having some repercussion. That's just the way it is in prison, period. All day, every day. Ain't no love in there, ain't no mercy in there. That's what it is. That's the life that you going to live when you put yourself behind that wall, in them cells, behind them bars. That's the type of life that you're going to have to live. Now the Asian dude, I never ran into him again. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he, if he got out somewhere else and had to put some more work in. I do not know. I do remember that situation vividly, because I do remember he almost killed that dude on that yard, but the dude did not die. I heard he was messed up bad, real bad, and I never ran into him again. But I know he didn't die. I know he did survive, but I never ran into him again, and I never was able to physically see him to know how much the injury cost him. But that's the position he put himself in, because he chose to be a predator. He chose to prey on somebody that he thought was weak, and he ended up, miscalculating. He ended up miscalculating to the point where it almost cost him his life. You see what I'm saying? But these are repetitive situations, and on the flip side, I know dudes has submitted to that. They submitted to it because they didn't want the violence to come to them. They didn't feel like they had the violence in them to, project on someone else to keep that off of them. So they submitted to it. They submitted to it. I can remember being on, I think I was on Nottaway, and I was in the pod with a little young white dude. He was like 20 years old, and he won't serve in nothing but like 5 years, and he had a fiance or girlfriend or whatever, came to see him every week, one of them clean cut looking white boys that you might see on 90210 or something. I know that's dating my age and everything, but that's a show that I remember. It was just clean cut looking little white dude, blonde hair, blue eyes, and man, they had pressure on him. They trying to get at him, and he's scared and don't know what to do. But this one in particular dude, he comes to him, which they will, and tells him, I'm gonna keep all of that off of you. But in order for me to keep all of that off of you, you're going to have to be with me. You're going to have to be exclusive to me. You know what I'm saying? So he getting the same thing that he trying to avoid, but he trying to avoid it from the masses. He trying to avoid being, taken by many and just choose to be taken by one. So he submitted to that, and he submitted his manhood to that. So he became someone else's property, and that someone else took on the responsibility of defending him, the responsibility of protecting him, the responsibility of fighting for him if need be. You see what I'm saying? So that's the pressure that you under, because he couldn't stand up for himself. He had 5 years. I don't know what his philosophy was, whether I ain't want to run my time up and try to kill nobody, or I ain't even built to kill nobody, or I ain't trying to get hurt. I don't know what his philosophy was, but he chose to submit his manhood for protection. For protection. And this don't just happen, don't get it confused. It just don't happen to white boys or Asian boys. It happened to black dudes as well. And every other color. Because it's not a point about your race, it's a point about your heart. It's a point about how far you willing to go. Because you will be tested, because dudes is gonna come at you with foolishness. That's just how prison is. They're gonna come at you with foolishness. And especially if you young and you new in prison, because they're gonna think you don't know nothing, or it's your first time in prison, they're gonna feel like you don't know nothing. So the game is gonna be coming. It's gonna be coming repetitively. It's just a fact of what you gonna do about it when it come at you. Be it they trying to get your money, they trying to get your manhood, they trying to get something from you. Now, what you willing to do to protect that? That's what it's gonna come down to. So if you ain't got that type of drive in you, if you ain't got that type of killer in you, if you ain't got that type of where if I got to stay in prison for the rest of my life, so be it. If I got to go to the electric chair, so be it. But I'm not gonna let this happen to me. I'm not gonna let that happen to me. If you ain't willing to take that stance, prison ain't for you. Period. I'm telling you that right now. It's clear as day. Prison ain't for you, because you just may be put in that position. And the chances are that you will be put in that position. Even if it's coming at you because they think you got some people on the street to take care of you that got some money. They may be in there and they ain't got no money, and they want your money. You see what I'm saying? They want your money. So what you willing to do to protect your money? Even if it means you might have to stay in prison for some more. Even if it means you may have to go to the electric chair. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? These questions you're going to have to answer in prison. These questions that may not never come up out here in society. But in prison, you're going to have to answer these questions, bro. Because you got dudes in there that's going to ask those questions. What your answer going to be?
The Banky special.
Yeah.
Pure deliciousness.
Pure deliciousness, man.
My name is Banky, man. Everybody calls me Banky. That's the name that I got from my grandmother when I was young. I'm coming out here after 30 years. Yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, you know. And I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts.